Hi, everyone. This is Sam Silverman, Managing Partner of EB5AN. Thank you for taking time to join us for today's webinar. Today, we're going to be speaking about our Twin Lakes, Georgia Rural EB5 Loan Project. And we're going to be discussing the project with Gurpreet from India, a recent EB5 investor from India who joined the project and who has already received his I-526E green card approval. All right, so to start with, Gurpreet, could you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background, your bio, and kind of what led you to the United States and to pursue an EB5 investment recently?
Sure. First of all, Sam, thank you for having me. I am from India, as you already said. I came to United States first in 2009. I was here for about 2 to 3 years, and then due to some job changes, I went back to India, and then I came back in 2019, and since then I've been here. Yeah, and by education, I'm an engineer. I'm into the pharmaceutical industry since very beginning, and that's what I do here in Jersey as well. And really, obviously I'm on a work permit, and that has its own limitations, though this H1 is a great option for somebody like me, but that comes with some restrictions, some limitations. For example, if you happen to lose your job due to any reason, you really have a limited number of days, and beyond that, if you cannot find a job, you really have to leave the country. And then if you have to change the employer as well, you need to really make sure that you need to find an employer who is willing to transfer your visa, or who is willing to go through that whole transfer process. So that though it has advantages, as I said, it comes with its own limitation. Yeah, and the other thing is, I lost my father during COVID time, and due to all the travel restrictions, specifically for visa holders, I couldn't even reach on time. So it was very clear for me and my wife, both of us, that if we have to stay in this country, we have to explore some options that gives us this path to permanent residency. That's how we started looking for these options, and EB5 was almost a no-brainer for us, given all the advantages this particular path offers.
Got it. Were there any other paths that you considered, or was EB5 kind of the one that you really just did all of your research and focused attention on?
So I obviously had this work visa H1. I was on L1 as well at some point of time. I had my 140 approved as well, but given the wait time specifically for Indian national, it was like more than my lifetime, and we didn't have that much patience. So other than these work visas H1, L1, and then EB5, those are the options that we really explored, and we finally landed at EB5.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Could you share a little bit about your experience researching and ultimately engaging an EB5 immigration attorney? How many attorneys did you interview? Who did you end up hiring, and why? And what was that experience like?
Sure. So we spoke with, I think, almost 3 different firms, 3 different attorneys, and we had like one interaction with each of them. We went prepared, like with a lot of questions, and all of those conversations were really helpful because we learned something new. And we knew, like, just after our very first round of interactions with 3 different firms, we knew that whom we are going forward with, and so we picked Dennis Tristani. And really the reasons were, he answered all our questions really patiently. He clearly highlighted in the very beginning that this is possible, this is not, this is what you can do, this is what he can do and what he cannot do for us. So that whole transparent approach really worked for us. And we also listened through some of the other webinars, available on net, where his name came up a couple of times. And so due to all those reasons, we decided to go with him. And so far it went very well. So he and his team, I know, worked really hard to first understand the whole funding situation at our end. So they put together a very succinct and simple to understand summary of how we will source our fund, or how are we sourcing the funds, what is the situation in each of our accounts on so and so date. So in that one pager, the moment you read that, somebody who has no clue about yourself, that person can easily get that. So I think that worked really well. um, and We started working with Dennis sometime in June, and as I said, we ended up submitting the 5 to 6 in August. So it was about 2 months process for us from start to end. Um, my only advice for everybody out there who is looking for this kind of option is that don't go with somebody who is famous in the field. Go with somebody who you are comfortable with, and that was our approach. When we first talked to Dennis, it was very clear. As I said, like, we were comfortable talking to him. He answered all our questions. And of course, compare the options. There are plenty of options out there, and all of those are like great attorneys, no doubt. And be prepared. Like, when you have this kind of conversation, go with your ready set of questions which you want to ask, so that you can learn something from that conversation. So that was my experience, Sam. Really.
Perfect. Okay, that's really helpful. All right, so we talked about the immigration attorney for a bit. Let's shift gears a little bit and chat about the regional center and the EB5 investment project. So first, let's talk for a few minutes about the regional center. So what was important to you as you started to do your research on potential regional centers? How many did you talk to? What were some of the key differences that you found as you did some initial diligence on the EB5 regional centers that you were considering initially?
Yeah. I can't even count. We spoke with a lot of different regional centers, at least one conversation, and obviously we went with EB5AN, your regional center. And I think first and foremost thing for us, which clicked very well, was the focus on educating the investors themselves. Your website, and I did mention this like last year as well, I know, like, your website has a lot of information, great information. So that focus on educating the investors, that really clicked. I did not find any other regional center with that kind of depth, that kind of information. So that was really important, and that worked very well. So all the testimonials, like this conversation that we are having, like, we went through a lot of other testimonials that were there in your website back then, and that worked well. Like, that was super helpful. I think the other piece is, all the regional center we spoke with, we had a conversation with one of an employee. But here, I'm talking to you now. You are one of the partners in the company, and the response rate, kudos to you. Whether it's weekend or weekdays, I think we got response to all the questions pretty quickly. So that worked very well. And of course, it was a combination of various factors. So regional center being one, that's the first place where we interact with people, and that experience went very well. Then came in the project itself, right? So Twin Lakes, Coulter, so all those factors really worked very well for us, and it clicked well, and we decided to move forward. So if I speak about the project as well, so Twin Lakes, so I invested in Fund 4, which I understand is the last fund for this particular project. So before me, there were like 350 other investors already, and that talks a lot. that itself is a big deal, right? 350 people believed in the project, and therefore they invested in it. So that was like a great motivating factor for me at least. And then of course this whole Chris Wind brand, the Coulter brand, I went through a lot of testimonials back then as well, and I generally search on the websites, internet as well. In general, I thought the reputation Coulter has is pretty clean, pretty decent. They have the history of returning whatever money they borrowed from the investors. Projects seem to be doing pretty good as well, as per and I'm somebody who monitors that very closely. And I think as per the latest stats, Twin Lakes have sold like about more than 700 homes out of the 1,300 that they originally planned. So it looks like it's going in a right direction. And enough jobs has already been created. So and in fact for the fund 4, my understanding is that about for the first 30 odd investors, or 30 to 40, I think the jobs are already there, so which is a good thing, because 5 to 6 is just is one of the two main milestones. The second milestone is to remove that condition. So this is itself was a great motivating factor that a lot of jobs has been created. And even for the ongoing fund, you are moving pretty quickly towards creating jobs for all the 100 investors. And the fact that it's a rural project, that was also obviously an important criteria, is the key reason why we got approved in the time frame we got approved in. Um, I haven't really visited the project, but I did get a chance to view a lot of videos. I did speak to few of my colleagues, few of my friends over there. So all that information, as I said, so EB5AN first thing worked very well because of the reasons I mentioned. Coulter came work very well for everything that I understand. And then the Twin Lake itself. So these three factors worked really well for us, and because of which, we decided to go forward with that.
Got it. All right. Thank you. That's really helpful. Let's spend 1 minute and just talk about one thing you mentioned, which is just kind of financial transparency. So access to the financial statements for the project, for the Coulter company, guaranteeing the repayment of the loan, and all of the investment documents. How important was that transparency for you when you evaluated the project, and how did that compare to some of the other projects that you were considering?
Very important, super important. And the fact that, when we started this process, we didn't even know what we are supposed to ask. And your website helped us with that too. And we realize the importance of this as we move forward in the process. Because to be frank, I'm not somebody who is investing on regular basis, right? So I was new into the process, and we spent good amount of time in researching, in making sure that we are not moving in the right direction, right? We are moving in the right direction. So yes, that all that documentation, we spent good amount of time in looking at it and reviewing it. In fact, we consulted some of our close friends as well as we were doing that. Everything was super helpful. So the short answer is really that's why I said that whole transparent approach since beginning clicked very well for us. And to be frank, all the other programs that I was looking into, I never reached that stage where where the other party is comfortable sharing those details with us. It was only for this particular project we went so much ahead that finally we decided to take this forward, and we got access to some of those documents that you just mentioned, Sam. So it was helpful for sure.
Got it. All right. Perfect. So once you'd kind of decided on the immigration attorney and the Twin Lakes rural project as the one you were going to apply with, what was it like working with the EB5AN team to complete the subscription agreement, get the funds transferred to the escrow account, get the confirmation letter, and then ultimately, have the immigration attorney file your application. Tell us a little bit about, kind of what the mechanical process
Yeah.
was like once you were ready to actually invest.
I think once we made that determination, once we are very much ready that we have all the sources of funds with us, it went pretty quickly. So we obviously first our attorney did all that in the background as well. Like he made sure that he has all the details that he needs for the filing purposes. Once the filing is done, then I remember I think we got that letter, the acknowledgement letter from your side. Pretty quickly. It took like it's a matter of few days, as far as I remember. We got that letter. Um, so yeah, there were no hiccups at all after that process. Obviously, the place where we spent more time was actually doing our research, making sure, as I said, that we are moving in the right direction. We spend a lot of time in figuring out the project. But once all that is done, once we have all that source of funds established with Dennis, after that things moved pretty quickly. Yeah, it was like a very smooth process after that.
And when you filed your I-526C, did you also do the concurrent filing for the work and travel permit? And tell us a little bit about how that played out.
Yeah, I did. For me and for my spouse, we did 526, and along with that, we did 485, 765, and 131. And the interesting part is that we got our 526 approval before our 765 and 131. My spouse got her approval for the EAD as well as the advance parole. Due to some reason, I don't know, I haven't got yet. So my 526 came before EAD and 131. And based on everything that I understand from Dennis, that this is not uncommon. This has happened in the past as well. In fact, what he thinks is that probably I'll get my 485 faster than the 131 and 765. So the timing that he has given me, and I hope that is, we'll see how it will play out, but the timing that he has given me is about 1 to 3 months after 5 to 6 approval. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Got it. Okay. And so, looking back now at the process, your application submitted, source of funds completely done, you've gotten the approvals, I-526C is approved. What advice, what kind of major pieces of advice would you have for other similarly placed Indian investors who are already in the US who are considering doing EB5?
Sure. I think the first and foremost is that you have to pick the project carefully. That is the key piece. So do all as much research as you can in figuring that piece out, because ultimately all investments has risk. But as long as you pick the project right, at least you can hope to get your investment back. Even if it takes like couple of extra years than some of the more riskier project, I would say that's still better than not getting anything at all. So yes, I mean, definitely this first step of carefully picking the project is very, very important. Once that is done, then obviously the second step, which you should be doing in parallel as well, that which attorney you should be working with. And as I said, I would not personally go with somebody who is famous, but I would go with somebody who I am convenient, I am comfortable talking with, and that would be my recommendation for anyone out there as well who is looking for an attorney. And be prepared when you have these conversations with the prospective attorneys. Be prepared with the kind of questions you have, and that's your opportunity to really understand the attorney and to understand like what he or she can do for you. So that's the second most important thing. So project selected, attorney selected, and then the third thing, which also I would say we need to do all in parallel, is make sure that you have clarity on your funds. Because I know there are some investors who who wants to invest a partial amount, and then after certain months, they want to add more. I would say make sure that you have full clarity on how you will be coming up with that amount, whether it's 800K or 1 million, depending on the project you are choosing. But you need to have full clarity on day one that this will be my source of fund, because ultimately you have to prove that. You have to give all those details to USCIS, who will ultimately be reviewing all those details very carefully, based on which they will be giving the approval. So these three things: project, attorney, your source of funds, clarity. I think these three things are very important. Once you have that, then the process is pretty straightforward.
Got it. All right. So looking back, would you recommend your immigration attorney and EB5AN to other similarly
100%.
placed foreign investors considering EB5?
100%. 100%. Both EB5AN as well as Dennis. I think the experience so far has been great. So I would definitely recommend, all of the prospective investors to consider these two options.
Great. Thank you very much, Gurpreet, for taking some time to join us for today's webinar and share your experience and knowledge that you've obtained through the process, and also, what led you to pursue an EB5 investment.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for your time.